hours after Russian and Ukrainian delegates met in Istanbul to continue fragile peace discussions and facilitate a prisoner exchange, renewed Russian drone attacks struck Ukraine. Among the hardest hit was Odesa, where a barrage of strikes caused serious damage to residential buildings, undercutting hopes that diplomacy might bring a pause to the fighting. Ukraine's foreign ministry reported at least 42 Russian drone strikes overnight, injuring more than a dozen civilians. Among the worst hit was the Black Sea city of Odesa, where a 9-story residential building was devastated, raising fears of a complete structural collapse. Emergency workers evacuated 33 residents and rescued 5 individuals trapped in their apartments. Local officials described the night as hellish, underscoring the cruelty of the timing, just hours after both sides had agreed to move forward with peace negotiations in Istanbul. Despite the intensifying battlefield, the third round of direct Russia-Ukraine talks in Istanbul wrapped up on Wednesday with what many described as only modest progress. The meeting, which ended in under an hour, yielded agreements on prisoner exchanges but little else. No breakthrough on a ceasefire was reached, and prospects for a leaders' summit remained dim. Adding to the pressure, US President Donald Trump had days earlier warned Moscow of a 50-day deadline to make peace or face very severe tariffs. However, Russian officials appeared unmoved by external ultimatums. At a press conference following the talks, Vladimir Medinsky, Russian presidential aide and lead negotiator, voiced frustration over the meeting's structure.
For such a meeting to take place, it is necessary to work out the terms of the agreement in advance and understand what will be discussed at this meeting. Actually, at this meeting, one should not discuss the agreement, but finalize and sign it. As we say, the end crowns the matter. Meeting to discuss everything from scratch makes no sense.
Russia proposed forming 3 online working groups focused on political, military, and humanitarian issues in a bid to cut costs and speed up talks.
To save the time and the money of the taxpayers, we have decided to establish 3 work groups who would work online. A work group on political matters, a group on humanitarian issues, and a working group for military matters with corresponding specialists of military agencies.
Medinsky also floated the idea of short-term ceasefires to enable the recovery of wounded soldiers and bodies along the front line.
We have once again proposed to the Ukrainian side to consider, in our view, a very important issue: to make 24 to 48 hours of short ceasefires on the borderline, on the front line, so that the sanitary battalions could take the wounded and commanders could take their dead soldiers.
However, Kyiv rejected that approach, reiterating its demand for a full and unconditional ceasefire as the only viable basis for future diplomacy.
Ukraine keeps insisting on a full and unconditional ceasefire as the necessary basis for effective diplomacy. We are ready for a ceasefire now and to start substantive peace negotiations. And it is up to other side to accept this basic step towards peace.
Yet, even as disagreement lingered on key issues, a sliver of common ground emerged over the exchange of prisoners of war. According to Medinsky, around 250 Russian and 250 Ukrainian POWs were exchanged along the Ukrainian-Belarusian border. He added that both sides had agreed to proceed with an even larger exchange. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a telegram message, confirmed the implementation of the prisoner swap, saying more than 1,000 Ukrainians had now returned home through all the stages of the recent Istanbul agreements. Still, not everything proceeded smoothly. Medinsky alleged that one part of the prisoner agreement remained unfulfilled.
One point of our agreement was not fully implemented. Not all Kursk region residents evacuated by the AFU to the territory of Ukraine were returned.
The Russian aid further accused Kyiv of submitting misleading names in its list of children to be repatriated, some of whom he claimed were not children at all.
The delegations are working on that list of children to return to their homes, including the Children's Rights Ombudsman. Children return. This is a really tactical thing, because in this list there was found out that over a large number of children was never in Russia, and probably they are somewhere in Europe. We don't know. 50 names from this list weren't children. They were already above 18. The list keeps getting smaller. And if talking about retracting baseless Russian accusations, will we make such a big list?
Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov emphasized that Russia and Ukraine still held diametrically opposed positions and cautioned observers not to expect any miraculous breakthroughs from the talks.
We did not expect a breakthrough. A breakthrough is hardly possible. As you can see, yesterday Russian presidential aide Vladimir Medinsky confirmed, following the third round of talks, that Russia and Ukraine have completely opposite approaches to the draft memoranda that were previously presented. But at the same time, Medinsky yesterday outlined the agenda proposed by the Russian side point by point. The agenda is constructive, specific, and aimed precisely at substantive work that can lead to concrete results.
On the battlefield, however, Russia showed no signs of hesitation. While diplomats exchanged accusations across conference tables, the Russian military reported a series of aggressive offensives. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, units of the Sever Group of Forces liberated Varochino in Ukraine's Sumy region. Air defense units claimed to have intercepted 6 guided bombs, 1 US-made HIMARS projectile, 1 Neptune missile, and 256 Ukrainian drones. The ministry also released footage of TOS-1A thermobaric artillery crews, Mr. S howitzer units, and UAV operators pounding Ukrainian positions. Between peace proposals and drone swarms, Wednesday served as a stark reminder. Even as prisoners are traded and ceasefires proposed, the war continues to devour cities, civilians, and whatever fragile trust still remains between Moscow and Kyiv.